G'day guys, we've been busy buying bits and pieces again for the four-wheel drive, and this is a power board that I'm putting in the back. At the moment I don't have a lot of things to connect to it, but we're gradually upgrading the interior of the vehicle, and it's about time, I guess, that we do another short update on the vehicle itself, give you an idea of what we've done to it in the recent months since you last saw it when we were at Shark Bay. We have been quite busy and spending, well, for us, quite a lot of money. Other people wouldn't think it was all that much, I guess, but we're putting a fair bit of effort into upgrading it so that we can go away with a four-wheel drive overnight, 2-3 nights at a time, just the four-wheel drive and nothing else. We don't want to tow a trailer, we don't want to take the camper trailer, so we just want to do some short trips, get away down south, do a bit more filming than we've been doing. We've been trapped inside for a long time. Dorothy's knee operation is coming up next month, or actually next week, so it's going to be a little while yet before we get back out there. So meanwhile, what I've been doing is buying gear and getting things ready. What this is a board for mounting a switch panel, a couple of posts on this side, input coming in from Anderson plugs. In fact, it's input and output depending on what it's attached to, and this is the back of the switch panel all wired up. Now on the front end, well, it looks a hell of a lot neater. And we have 5 switches. They will eventually be wired up to lights and all sorts of other bits and pieces that we have. A standard cigarette lighter style adapter, a couple of USB ports, that's a voltage meter, and of course we've got the 2 Anderson plugs here. Now they're either input or output. Effectively what's going to happen to that, this plug is going to go to our new secondary battery. We're going to have 2 secondary batteries now, not just one. We bought a battery case for it, and that's all set up ready to go. And this one will, I guess, be for the travel buddy when we're using that in the back. So we have another line coming out here that is going to go down and connect to a cigarette lighter adapter similar to this one here that's already fitted on the side of the vehicle. So we've got a plan for where we're going to put it, right at the back of the vehicle on the right hand side. Hopefully it's all going to go together nicely once I put it in. We have pre-drilled all the holes in here ready for it to go. A lot of people use felt carpet to cover these with. I did actually try to get some from Super Cheap, and they didn't have it in stock, so I had this sitting around at home. It's a sort of a fake checker plate sort of look, so I thought, well, I was in a hurry, I wanted to get the job done. Unfortunately, the back of this is meant to be adhesive, and it's not quite as adhesive as I'd hoped, so it's not going to come off because we use contact cement as well, but it'll do the job for now. And what we have here is the battery box that it's going to hook up to. This will become our second battery, our second house battery for the car. A 120 amp hour AGM battery, which is the same as the house battery we have under the bonnet. Has quite a useful handle on the top, although it is pretty heavy. It's got side handles as well to make it easier to pick up. You've got a couple of wing nut connectors here. Like the panel that I'm installing, it also has cigarette lighter adapter and a couple of USB ports. You can never really have enough of those. Also has a voltmeter on top and has a little on-off switch, so you can just stop it wasting power. It's been sitting there for a couple of days now, and it's still sitting at 12.5 volts. This is a battery that's been sitting out in the shed for a while, and I thought it might be on its way out, but I'm guessing we might get a bit more use out of it yet. On the other end here we have the 2 Anderson plugs. What will happen with these is a line will come in from the front of the car, from the battery there, and another line will go out from here to the power board, which I showed you just now. So basically from here into the power board, and that will give us power in the back of the vehicle. Should give us plenty of connections. This particular one is from Jaycar, and after I had a look at what's available from the four-wheel drive Supacentre, this one seems like it's a bit over the top when it comes to price. It was 129 bucks. The one available from the four-wheel drive Supacentre is about 60 bucks, so yeah, I'm wondering if we got screwed a bit with this one. We'll see, I guess, as long as the components are good and it lasts, then that's all that really matters in the end. So unfortunately we're still with AGM batteries. We're not switching to lithium yet. Once all the current batteries die, then we'll start to think about lithium, but right at the moment most of our batteries are still working well. They're not all that old, except for this one. This one is a little old, but it seems in good nick, so we'll use it anyway. Now, if you saw our video on the LifeDo fire pit, we were sent that to review. We found it was okay, but then we wanted to get a hot plate for it, and I also saw online another fire pit very similar that had a rotisserie. Now, we contacted the four-wheel drive Supacentre that sells that, and they do sell the rotisserie separately. So this is what turned up the other day. I've got to say their shipping service is pretty awesome. We ordered it on a Tuesday and it was here by Thursday, so a couple of days to get the gear that you're after. I'm not quite convinced this is exactly what we want, because what happens with this particular model is the support poles have to be hammered into the ground. That may be okay when you're on soft ground, but it means you're limited. You can't use this on a table, you can't put it up somewhere on hard ground. So whether we can come up with something else that will solve that problem, whether we'll be able to bolt these somehow to the side of the fire pit, or put, I don't know, something that they can slide into, maybe we'll work something out along those lines. But it will be fine for when you've got soft ground. Number of components there, that's the section that the motor sits in. It's a bit shielded from the fire. It will sit on the pole this way. The pole comes up through here. You've got two tighteners. It's got the odd thing being that I guess it's difficult to make one of these round. What they've done, they've got a square hole there. You've got a round pole that goes through it, but then you've got two tightening screws that hold it pretty solidly in place. I have put this together just to check it all out. The other parts that come with it are the prongs that hold your roast onto the bar and rotate. Pretty standard for a rotisserie. You have the far end connector, also two tightening screws so that it'll hold the other pole in place. And then of course the rotisserie part rests in here and just rotates. This is the rather large rotisserie box, on-off switch, and it takes D-cell batteries. Now, no idea yet how long they last. We will be testing it out as soon as we possibly can, and hopefully these will last more than just one cooking session. Hopefully they'll last a few. You can get rechargeable D-cells now. We've seen them available at Officeworks. They're done by Vata. We bought some Vata. We use Vata batteries quite a lot. We find they're pretty good value for money. Vata also do rechargeable ones for about 15 bucks. I think they are for two. So we'll grab a couple of those as well, so that while we're out, just in case we run out of power from these, we'll then be able to recharge batteries and still be able to use the rotisserie. There is some sort of a counterweight on here. I'm not quite sure what that's used for yet, but no doubt when I start to look at videos, etc., it's adjustable up and down. So according to the King's pictures, that's where it sits, but there's no manual that comes with this, which I found a bit odd. The other thing that you get with this is a handle that screws on here, and of course that enables you to pick up the bar without burning your hands. That seems pretty good quality gear actually, it's not badly made. Hard plastic, hopefully that won't crack. That's the only thing I can think of that might happen with that, is that with the heat and all the rest of it, eventually it might crack down the side. You can always overcome these problems by having welding gloves, that sort of thing, so that wouldn't be a major problem, it wouldn't stop you from using it. You've got the adjuster on here, it just slides along, and of course that just sits in the end piece and it rotates. How the batteries will last rotating something with a big counterweight like that, I'm not even sure the counterweight's going to be useful, so we don't have one on our home rotisserie, so we'll find out when we test it whether that's really a necessary item to use. As you can see, we've got the rotisserie set up now on the Life Do fire pit. We think this is going to make it a much more useful thing to take with us camping, so now we've got the hot plate and the rotisserie, so a lot more choice about what we do with it and how much we can use it. What we're doing here is a little light. We're not using firelighters this time. I've seen people use these butane gas lighters to light charcoal, so I'm going to give that a go. One of the really good things about the flat pack fire pit and the rotisserie is they pack up fairly neatly. They don't take up a great deal of space. The fire pit itself, I gotta admit, is pretty heavy. I'm not entirely sure quite how much that weighs in total, but it's in excess of 10 kilos, that's for sure. But we do have the extra hot plate in there, and we do have the ash catchers at the bottom as well. Both of those are pretty lightweight. It's mostly the fire pit and the hot plate that cause the weight in that, but then you don't want something that's going to warp not long after you start using it, so there needs to be a bit of weight in the metal. Okay, the next item is this little gizmo. It's a wireless thermometer for a fridge. Now, we saw this recently on one of the YouTube channels, one of the four-wheel drive guys. If I remember whose channel it was, I watched so many of them, I will put the link down below. A lot of times when you're driving long distances and your fridge is running away quietly in the back of the 4x4, you're never going to hear whether it goes off or not. Maybe your connections come loose when you're going over corrugations, all sorts of reasons why a fridge might stop working. This little thing will help you see any problems as they develop. What you've got here is a sender that goes inside the fridge. What I've done, it doesn't come with this, but I've got a piece of Velcro on the back there. We're going to stick that inside the fridge. And this is the receiver, sits up the front of the vehicle so you can see it on the dashboard somewhere. Again, I've put some Velcro on the back of that ready to be stuck on. Top readout there shows what the fridge is doing, and the bottom readout shows you the ambient temperature outside the fridge. It does have also a minimum and maximum for the fridge over a period of time. It'll just keep track of that. If you ever want to reset that, you just take the batteries out. Now, the batteries for these things are just a couple of AAAs and also a couple of AAAs in the sender, so not difficult to get batteries for, easy enough to replace. We'll be giving that a go too once we get back out again and start doing a bit more touring, and we'll see how that goes, whether it's a good quality thing that lasts a long time or whether it gives up fairly quickly. We don't know yet. Looks okay, general appearance and feel are good. And again, as you can see, their logo on the top here, that's another King's product. We haven't bought the King's products before, but we see a lot of other people get them. We know they're sort of the budget end, but things like this are worthwhile giving a try. That was about 20 bucks, a little under 20 bucks. Okay, next item. This is another Aldi special. We actually got this a little while ago, but haven't shown it to anybody yet. It's one of these little multi-tool things that you get. Particularly nice finish on it. We know a lot of people swear by Leatherman and all that sort of gear, but this feels nice. It looks well constructed, it feels good, it's heavy. Not too heavy, but it, you know, it feels like a quality bit of gear. Now, the tools that come as part of this are fairly straightforward. They're fairly standard on most of these things, I think. You've got a bottle top opener there, you've got a little saw blade, got a small blade here. I'm not quite sure what you'd use that one for. A Phillips screwdriver, a couple of what look like flat blade screwdrivers. There's a file here, and a particularly sharp knife. You want to watch your fingers on that one. And it all folds up nice and neatly. And comes with its own little pouch that you can pop onto a belt if you wear a belt. I tend not to wear a belt, so this will just be something that's sitting in the glove box. Decent little thing. As I say, it feels pretty well built. Time will tell if it lasts or if it rusts or whatever, but we'll be putting that in the glove box of the 4x4, leaving that there for when we might need it, and obviously we'll let you know at some time in the future how it's gone. From memory I think it was about $15, so if you compare that to what you would pay for something like a Leatherman, I think these are pretty good value. And last but not least in our current collection of gear that we've been buying, there's this little thing here. Okay, you can obviously see it's something electrical. It's got an adapter there where you can attach it direct to a battery if you want to, or the main unit comes with a cigarette lighter adapter. I suppose that will do for this. I guess you don't have to have anything different to that. I don't think the amperage draw on this is going to be very high. You've got a switch here, and of course what this is a flexible LED light. It is very flexible, and it comes with hooks on both ends. The hooks look reasonable, don't look like they'll snap too easily, and it's got Velcro straps on the back, so you can also pop those around poles. And what we really want these for is the 4x4. We want something simple to put up. The light it throws out is pretty good, and it's adjustable. I'm not going to show you the light right at the moment because we'll do that once we get out and do some testing, but it's a tap switch. These are becoming more and more common, so you tap it once to turn it on, tap and hold to bring the light up, tap and hold to bring the light back down again, and I think it's a double tap from memory to turn it off. And I have tested it, not bad. It's got a pretty standard connector for these sort of lights, so you could, I guess, put a dimmer switch or something like that in there as well if you really wanted to. And we've picked up 3 of these. They were about $17, $18 each, so that seems reasonable for something like this. Rolls up nicely, quite small, very light. And each of them comes with their own little carry bag, so you just pop the bits and pieces in there, zip it up, chuck it in the drawer, and you've got lights that are fairly easy to attach anywhere, anytime you want them. That's it for this part of the video. What I hope to do next is do a bit of filming with the 4-wheel drive. I don't know when I'm going to get round to that. So it's probably most likely that I'm going to release this particular video a little bit early and do the update of the four-wheel drive a little bit later. But we will definitely get back to you and let you know how the gear goes once we've been using it for a while. Well, cheers for now, and thanks for watching. Hope to catch you back here again soon. See ya.